What's up, friends? Thanks for coming by to the channel once again. This time around, I wanted to pivot away from some of the things I've been doing recently, which were C# and C++ applications. This time around, I want to talk about Java. Now, if you're anything like me, Java is kind of foreign to you. You don't really work too much in it. But even if you do, maybe this is something new as well. Spring Boot is a framework that's used to build RESTful web applications. And I'm not going to get into what REST is right now in this video, or how to build them specifically, but I am going to talk about how to get started. And the reason for this pivot is because in some of my recent classes, I've had to build RESTful applications using Spring Boot, and it is very not informative, the classes at least, telling you how to do certain things, specifically like get started and use HTTPS and stuff like that. So I'm going to cover some of those things here. There are a lot of other tutorials out on the web, and they are really good, but some of them miss some of the very basic things that you have to do. And if you're anything like me, again, you need things explained to you like you are 5, which there's no shame in that, nothing wrong with it, and that's why I'm here to help. So let's get started with this tutorial about, first of all, just generating a Spring Boot framework application, getting it to run, and then stopping it from running. Those are going to be the things that I cover here. So without any further ado, let's just get going with that. So first and foremost, in order to run Java, the thing you're going to want is, of course, Eclipse. So if you have Eclipse installed, awesome. If you don't, definitely take a moment to find Eclipse on the web and download it, download the latest version. It will have everything you need. My version of Eclipse doesn't have anything special. It's just the latest, or my latest version is from March 2022. So once you get that, then you're ready to go. So let's jump on the web, and we'll start with start.spring.io. And what this is going to do is give us the Spring initializer, which kind of does a lot of the legwork for us, which is really, really cool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep it as a Maven project. We're going to keep the language in Java. We're going to keep this default as 2.7.0. That's fine. Over here, I'm going to change this from example to, let's see, we'll call it new spring. There we go. And I'm going to change demo to demo 2, because this is technically the second one that I've done. Not necessarily the best naming conventions here, but for this example, we're fine. These defaults at the bottom are fine. You should already have Java installed on your machine. If you don't, that's another thing that you're going to want to have. I might do a video about that maybe in the future, but I'm assuming if you're here at this point talking about Spring Boot and RESTful applications, then you might already have those things, or you should have already have those things going for you. So the last thing we need to do is up here where it says Add Dependencies. Click on that, and we're going to go down to Web. And we want Spring Web, because this is used for building RESTful applications, and in Eclipse it uses Tomcat as the default embedded container. So it basically uses Tomcat as kind of a server to send it to your browser, so you can view whatever web application you've made on your own internet browser, which is pretty cool. And then down here we're just going to hit generate, and it should generate the code. There we go, and it's downloaded automatically, so I'm just going to open that up. And I'm going to extract the zip file to its own folder, and I'm just going to leave it here in downloads for right now. If you have your own special repository for your Java projects and everything, that's totally fine. You can move it to there, no big deal. Just as long as you know where you've moved it to for this next part. All right, so now in Eclipse, you should have opened up a new workspace, or whatever workspace you're working in. And over here in the Project Explorer panel, or up in File, either one will work, go to Import. And then from Import, okay, sorry about that pause. If you heard beeping, those were my cookies that I'm baking. All right, anyways, so once again, let me repeat that step just in case you missed it. So File and Import. And then in Import, we're going to make sure that we have Maven's folder open up here. And we're going to go to Existing Maven Projects. Just select it and hit Next. For the root directory, we're going to browse to that directory that we just downloaded from start.spring.io. So for me, I left it in my downloads folder, and it was called Demo 2. So I'm just going to click on that and say Select Folder. Select Folder, there we go. And within that Select Folder option, it should find a pom.xml file for you. And if it does, perfect, because that's what it's going to use to import the information into Eclipse for us. So once it has that highlighted right here and checked, We're going to go ahead and hit finish, and it should import that in. And there it is, demo 2 right there. Now to run this, all we need to do is navigate to the application right here in this very first folder. So source main Java, com. In this case, new spring.demo2, and then here it is demo2 application.java. Now if you open this up, you can see that this application is very, very bare bones. It just has a few of the important imports for Spring Boot, and then it has a very generic main function to allow it to run, but this doesn't actually do anything. In future videos, I'll talk about how we can add stuff in there. Okay, but there it is. There's your first Spring Boot application running in Java Eclipse. And so in order to actually get this to run, you have a couple options here. You can either click on the Run attacher here at the top, or you can right-click on the application itself, which of course is the .java project, or the .java file right here. So I'm going to right-click on this and say Run As, and select Java Application. And you should see this populate over here in the console. And the thing that we're looking for is right down here. It says Tomcat started on ports 8080. And so what that means is that if I open up a web browser, which I'm going to do right now, and I type in into a new tab, http:// localhost 8080, my web page shows up like this. Now, right now, you should be seeing the same thing. It says white label error page, and what this means is that it's a default error page for an application that does not yet have any way to handle errors. And that's because this is essentially empty. There's nothing going on here. It's just a simple main function looking for some classes which don't exist, so it's throwing an error, and then that error shows up as the web page. And that's it. There's the beginnings of your Spring Boot Java application, which is kind of cool. Now, the other thing that I didn't really learn at first, and it took me a while to get, so if you are having the same trouble as I am, you might do this. You might say, oh, I want to add some code here, whatever you type in, and then you may want to try it out again. So you're going to go to Run As Java Application, hit the button, tell it that you want to save it. It's going to try and run, but then you're going to have an application fail to start. And it's going to say web server failed to start, port 8080 was already in use. And you're going to say, well, wait a second, how do I stop that? Even if you close this, it'll still throw the same error. But never fear. The quickest or easiest way to fix this problem is go to your debug tab. Now, if you don't see the debug tab on your left-hand panel there or wherever, go to Window, Show View, and select Debug. And then you'll notice here I've got this little box that looks like a server with a green arrow on it. That means it's running, and this in particular is running my demo2 file application right here. As you can see, demo2 application. So if I want to stop this, all I need to do is select that little server thing, and I can either click on this red box up here, or I can right-click on the application and select Terminate. And either way, it will terminate, and it'll be done. And we can check this by, once again, going to http:// localhost 8080. And this time we won't see an error. We'll see a can't connect page from our browser, basically saying that there's nothing to connect to. Okay? And that's it. That is your first Spring Boot application, the beginning of a RESTful application, and that is the quickest way to get it up and running and started using Maven and Java. So hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully that got you started on building some really awesome apps, and I'll see you in the next video.